Next one we're going to talk about is, in fact, the first original song I ever wrote about Dream SMP. And Mango had no hand in this one. Mango was not involved in the channel until Prometheus, and this came out a few weeks before that. But In a Castle on a Cloud is a Carl song, specifically about the tales of the SMP. Because at the time, I was catching up on that lore, and I was pretty into it. However, as it was my first song, over a few months, I really was afraid of it. I was sort of embarrassed by my songwriting skills of the time. Or at least I was afraid that it wouldn't live up to what I thought it would be like. So I actually avoided this song between Beloved's release and about March of 2022. So that's about almost 6 or 7 months that I didn't listen to this song, I didn't look at this song, I didn't want to think about this song. I was scared of it. I was embarrassed.
Did you even look at it before we had the conversation we're about to talk about?
No. I did not look at it until March 2022 because Orb Manson from Mizu SMP podcast, which talks about Dream SMP fan music, reached out to me and asked to include the song on the podcast, specifically their Carl episode. And as soon as I got the request, I was so nervous. Like, oh no, they chose the song that I am the most self-conscious about. The first song, it's gotta be the worst song.
To be fair, it's not the most professionally recorded because it was your first one, and that's fine.
Yeah.
I think the remaster of it is beautiful because you didn't make any changes to it, you just re-recorded it, and you can see how your skill level has grown since then. And I think that is really cool.
Thank you. But even at the time, after I got the request from the podcast, I re-listened to the song, and I realized, oh, this is not as bad as I remember it being. I didn't hate it as much as I had. But, beyond that, I didn't really revisit it.
Personally, kind of forgot about it, because it was the only one I wasn't really involved in. I appreciated, your turn of phrase and lyrics, because I didn't really get rap. I've never really gotten rap. Like I said earlier, I get it a little bit more now, but I still don't get how to write it. And I do come from the perspective that music is poetry. And I thought you did a good job of capturing that aspect of the way you phrase things lyrically was really cool to me. But I didn't listen to it all that much because it wasn't really my favorite genre. And I wasn't all that involved in writing it. And then we were talking about the album lineup, I think.
Well, at that point I had decided that In a Castle on a Cloud would be joining the lineup of Babel Has Fallen.
Because you weren't sure for a while.
I wasn't sure for a while because I hadn't written it with the rest of the songs. I thought it would be disjointed. I think I originally decided to put it in because I needed a buffer between Precipice and Burning Pages. I was like, I need some sort of buffer because otherwise it's kind of back-to-back of this conflict.
Mm-hmm.
So I decided, what the heck, I'm just going to put In a Castle on a Cloud in the lineup.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think it was in July? Was it July?
No, it's got to at least been August because I was in school.
Oh, yeah, okay. Oh, no, that's what we said. It was probably in late August, maybe early September.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it had to have been around there. We had written every single song for Babel Has Fallen except for In the End. We were still fiddling with In the End. I think we had a few concepts for it. We had the main ideas, and then we had some notes jotted down. We didn't have much. We were still figuring out exactly how this final dream song was going to pan out.
Mm-hmm.
And was it you who pulled up In a Castle on a Cloud?
I did. I was like, I haven't listened to this song in ages. I don't really remember it all that well. So I was sitting there talking to you on the phone, and I started reading the lyrics. And let's just take you through this, and you're going to see what we saw.
Yeah.
Okay?
Here's the lyrics. You all can see. You can follow along. So, we start with, I don't know where to start. When did I become a part of a series of confusing tales?
Tales. Remember I told you
Tales. We just talked about in Wrong Place, Wrong Time. Tales. All right. So, we got tales. Why am I writing details, and why am I left to roam, carrying a purple tome, traveling between worlds with these, surrounded by these stories?
Stories.
We got tales. We got stories. These twisted myths. These twisted stories. I'm gonna change my story from Precipice. Everywhere I look, people each an open book.
Your book is closed to me.
Do not read. From Beloved.
Each strange tale is something new, but something is familiar too. We've talked about this a little bit already. That kind of tendency to reference the myths, but the way it happens in this version isn't necessarily exactly how it happened in the original. Remember how we talked about Orpheus and Eurydice? How this Orpheus killed his Eurydice in the end.
It's a new tale, but there's something familiar as well. Each strange tale, each twisted myth, each strange tale is something new, but something is familiar too. These faces of all I see, all of them reminding me of a place that I once called home. Tubbo and Beloved, they're looking for their home. You made me a home, but you took it away. Remember, we both sought a home in the snow. They gave us a home, but they took it away. And then we have, but now I'm here, I'm all alone. And also in Beloved, but now I'm just standing out here all alone. In a place that I've never been, a castle where the air is thin, reflections of a different kind, wandering all deaf and blind.
That goes back to Haunted. The ghost in the mirror won't leave me alone.
Oh yeah. So reflections in Haunted, wandering all deaf and blind, and a voice writing to me saying that now I can breathe and this is somewhere I can't rest and they won't answer my request. I'm calling anybody there. I'm in a place that's bright and where I don't know if I can get back to the home I love. Gotta get on track.
I talked about this one, but I was reading it just now. What does that feel like? I'm in a place bright, different from where I was, but I don't know if I can get back to what was there before, to the home I loved. This one's a kind of a loose connection, so I don't know if you are thinking what I'm thinking, but I immediately jump back to My Turn to Rise.
With him coming back to life.
Coming back to life, the association of the dawn, and then just that kind of idea of wondering how out of the ground, no more Eurydice. L'Manberg's gone. I don't know. That one's a loose one, but I just saw it just now. I was like, there's another one.
To find out what I'm meant to do with all these tales, both old and new, the mysteries found on my own could finally lead me to my own. There's more tales, they're both old and new at the same time. These twisted stories. We're gonna skip the chorus because the second verse starts with New Dawn. Just like My Turn to Rise. Sunrise.
Sunrise, new dawn.
Open up my eyes. Timelines in a new disguise. Another twisted version of this story. Friends whose name I've never heard. Is this the fourth time or the third?
That kind of constantly referencing the weird Greek names, which is in canon, by the way. Just throwing that out there. Anyway,
That was aggressive.
I'm sorry.
Wandering, trying to find the way to get back to from whence I came, but every single way I go has got new tragedies to show. Just like this tragedy of mine.
Tragedies.
New day. New rules to learn. Back to the game's idea from Keep Me Alive and Heart of Stone. He's playing a game. Who knows if I will ever return to the homeland that I left behind before I up and lose my mind. New tale, or tales. Gotta write it down so I can share what I have found. Can't let these histories repeat. Won't let my tale end in defeat. But Precipice, I won't let him change my story.
Yeah, I will dare to change this story. I don't care what he said was meant to be. I will dare to change the story.
I won't let my tale end in defeat. And skipping down, I must outrun, I must outlast, I must escape the sick routine, I gotta leave the in-between. The repeating.
Escaping this pattern. There's a pattern here.
And then finally, I gotta go back to my home. My memory is slowly slipping away. We keep hearing about memory and precipice. I won't let this haunt me.
And then that last line, but all the tales I've written are gonna guide my way back. I'll let you sit on that one, because we haven't really talked about that yet, so it probably doesn't hit us hard. But maybe when we're done with our full explanation, come back and look at these lyrics again.
Are you specifically referring to something from the last song?
Yes. Maybe I'll come back and reference this when we talk about that. But that is really the part that hit home for me. That's the part I noticed first. And I think you guys are probably starting to realize at this point what we realized.
Especially if you're coming back from this tragedy of mind breakdown.
Which is, this song was written... How long did you take to write this song?
In 16 hours, I had started it and posted it in 16 hours.
She wrote and produced this song in 16 hours. She'd never written another song before. She wrote this, which predicts the rest of the album.
It references almost, or at least, not references, but it has parallels to almost every other song in this album.
And then she forgot about it.
Yep.
None of this is deliberate. The only song that was written after this one was In the End. And I think we did talk about trying to slip in some intentional references once we realized that. I don't remember how many actually made it in, but all of the other ones, any references, parallels you see, exact phrasings, none of it was intentional.
Complete accident. Because I had completely ignored this song. By the time we actually came back to it and realized all this, it had been over a year since I'd written it. Over a year this song had been out, and it took me that long to actually realize that I was already referring back to this song over and over and over.
That is why this song belongs in this album.
And why this song still creeps me out now.
Even though it's not directly referenced by any of the other characters, which I think is fitting, because everyone forgets about Carl in canon, and part of his lore is that people are forgetting about him.
And he's forgetting about them.
Right. So it does work, and it does fit. But the reason this song belongs in this album is because this song foretold this album before we even knew the album existed.
It has all the same motifs and ideas and themes, and yet we didn't even notice.
Were you even planning to write any other songs after this one?
No, this was gonna be a one-off. I was like, oh, I'm a mashup person. I do mashups. Why would I do an original song? Oh, wait, I came up with this one idea. Let me do it in one day. Post it and be done with it.
And it's still a very good song. Like, especially after you reproduced it and, like, remastered it. You didn't change any of the lyrics.
Nope.
The lyrics actually stand up very well, all things considered.
Which is insane. It's probably one of the strongest ones I've written. I'd probably say it's the strongest one I've written completely by myself.
And that's the other thing. She wrote this completely by herself. And I think that's awesome.
You're too kind.
So, there you go. We have a tendency, this weird tendency in this album, to predict things, including ourselves, apparently.
It's really freaky whenever we realize this.
I think it's awesome.
And then we kind of have, like, weird, excited screeching.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
That's pretty much how it goes.
Anyway, In a Castle on a Cloud. It's a weird one. The fact that it exists is strange. But technically, it's what got me into writing original songs, so... Or at least original Dream SMP songs, so that's exciting. If you don't like it for any other reason, you can at least appreciate it for that.
I do think it's probably one of the more underappreciated ones, which is fine. I get why, but I don't know. Maybe this will convince you to go give another listen.
I don't know where to start. When did I become a part of a series of confusing tales, and why am I writing details, and why am I left to roam, carrying a purple tome, traveling between worlds with these, and now I'm surrounded by these stories everywhere I look.